Hi guys, welcome back. It's another mystery again this time, and I love these. I recently had the chance to visit St Chad's Church, the graveyard of St Chad's Church, which is in Shrewsbury, which is home to a rather famous gravestone. You may or may not know, but in 1984 they filmed A Christmas Carol there, the film, and one of the props used for the film was this Ebeneezer Scrooge gravestone that is in St Chad's churchyard. They actually filmed the scene there in the churchyard. Very old churchyard. Some of the graves there are well over 200 years old, and yeah, people now come and visit this grave. In fact, the whole film was filmed in Shrewsbury. It's such a historic town that they had lots of interesting locations that they could go and film in. And yeah, it's I recently discovered it, and I went to see it last October, and since then, unfortunately, it has been vandalised. This was in the news, you may have seen it. I don't know what happened, but it seems like somebody tried to take it and then it broke, and I don't know, but they have since repaired it and restored it, so that's good. So yeah, me and my daughter, we went to go and see it in its repaired state, and I thought it'd be really interesting to do some SBox sessions there and try and find out who is actually buried underneath it, who the gravestone actually belonged to, because a lot of people think it's a prop, and it is a prop, but it's also a real gravestone. Like, they actually got permission to use an actual Victorian gravestone, and the writing on it has weathered away. So there was this big blank section that they carved Ebeneezer Scrooge onto. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they got away with that, actually. Yeah, I sort of feel like if they can afford George C. Scott for that film, they could probably afford to, like, buy a proper prop rather than using someone's headstone. But yeah, that's kind of an intriguing thing about it. So since I do spirit box communication, and I've had some really interesting answers through this from beyond the grave, I thought I would ask some questions and see what we could find out. So there is writing on the headstone, and I have tried to kind of decipher what it says. I can sort of make out the word Anne, and possibly Charles, and it definitely says 1827, so that's, well, almost 200 years old. I found a Facebook group, and people seem to also be saying what I thought it was on there, that it's Charles and Anne Hall. 17 was also spotted, but it could be 17th, so it may not be that someone was 17. So I didn't know any of this at the time when I was there and asking the questions and doing the transcribing. So it's interesting to see what comes up on this. I did 2 sessions there in St Chad's Church, and I'll play those now. So after each video, I also play the direct recording from the SD card on this, so you can hear all the more faint stuff. Wear headphones and turn your volume up, because this is often where the most interesting stuff is. I've transcribed all of it in the first video anyway, so even though a lot of it isn't really audible in that, which is frustrating, it's kind of answering the questions I'm asking. So they're only 2 short clips, so I'll play you those, and I'll play the SD card recording straight afterwards, so you can hear exactly what I hear when I'm transcribing. And yeah, I love this cemetery. This is one of my favourite cemeteries. This is the church, St Chad's, you can see it through there.
It's very big.
Yeah, and some of these are so old. It's really interesting to just walk around. We were last here on Halloween, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to do a spirit box session here last time, but I want to have a go at one this time, because I'm really interested to see what... There's another Owen Owen.
Oh my God.
There was an Owen Owen in Newtown as well. Was there like a trend back then to have the same first name and second name? Really strange. It was nice and quiet here, which is great. So any spirits want to communicate? I have a device. And I have a device. And yeah.
An event.
That's interesting. Quite a lot coming through there. There was. We'll have to go back and listen to that.
So there you are. Simply hit break. See yourself in the river. More than it's probably an event.
So yeah, this is the Scrooge gravestone, newly restored. As you can see, yeah, it got vandalised. And somebody is in it here, and we don't know who, but I thought it might be interesting to maybe ask on the SBox, see if we can find out. How do they feel about it?
Yesterday.
How do they feel about what's happened to it?
Okay.
Do you reckon it was used as a proof? What's the name of the people buried here? How old are they? Is this? Tell me about their life. The famous gravestone, right? But what about the people that were buried here? What about their lives? Thank you for talking to me. Well, I'll have to see what came through that. I'm sure it said 6 when I asked how old they were.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Yesterday. Okay.
So yeah, could Annie be the Anne on the gravestone? I thought that was interesting. It also said 6 when I asked how old they were, and 6, 5 and 1. Now, I've looked on this headstone. I couldn't seem to see any indication of there being like multiple people or children there, but this is where it gets interesting because I found out some more information, and it turns out that that headstone isn't actually from St. Chad's at all. So it was taken, apparently, from a village 5 miles away and put there specifically for the film, which makes sense when you look at the placement of it. You've got those graves in the background, which makes sort of a nice spooky backdrop for Scrooge to have his dramatic moment, and there's no other graves around it which would draw the viewer's attention elsewhere. So it's the perfect placement for a good, cinematic setup. So that makes sense. So Anne or Annie isn't under there, she's somewhere else. So who is? So this is kind of what I wanted to know, so I thought I would ask. So I did a session at home. I asked directly who actually is underneath the grave, and straight off the bat, this is what I got.
One in the suite. I remember. Beautiful. Hi, Colin. With your mind.
Sorry. So yeah, could it be a woman called Elizabeth? Very popular name back then, could well have been. It said a baby, and it was saying a woman, so maybe the baby was the 1-year-old? I don't know, what do you think? If you heard anything I missed, let me know down below. Something really cool that came up as well, I don't know if you've seen my last vlog, but if you had, you will know that I seem to have maybe had communication by Frank Sumption, the inventor of the original spirit box. He passed away in 2014, but his nickname was Purple. And apparently he's been known to come through people's spirit boxes introducing himself as Purple. Because that's what they called him through his spirit box, so it became his nickname. And twice now I have had I'm Purple come through in an American accent. It happened last time and it happened in that one, so what are the odds of that if it's just radio bleed? Yeah, so I talk about Frank in my last vlog, so do watch that. But yeah, that made my day when that came through. And twice now I have had I'm Purple come through in an American accent. We also got to do a bit more exploring in Shrewsbury. There's quite a lot of the film locations from A Christmas Carol dotted around Shrewsbury, if you know where to look for them. We found Bob Cratchit's house with the steps next to it up at the top of this really cool little sort of medieval looking lane called Grope Lane, which I will leave to your imagination as to what sort of profession went on there back in the day. But it was really interesting, that lane, actually, because it's supposedly above a plague pit. And the last time we went to Shrewsbury, we went there because my daughter likes the little sort of Harry Potter shop that's on there. And we went there again, and I thought I would ask through this about the plague victims, because afterwards, when we went to the park, it was sort of coming through stuff about the black sickness and things like that, and I didn't know anything at all at the time about the plague in Shrewsbury. Only when I looked it up did I see that I'd just come from an area that's above a massive plague pit, apparently. So I thought I would try again, do the same thing, go to that same area, and then go back to the quarry, which is this big park, and ask if I could contact any plague victims. I didn't get any plague victims come through, but I did seem to get somebody who wanted to talk to me about being at the school. Now, I need a map for this to kind of illustrate this. You can see where we are on the map here. St Chad's, the church we just come from, is up at the top there. And you can also see the river, which is interesting because that got a mention in the first SBox session, something about he fell in the river. So you can see how near the river is to everything. And there's the school. It's a private school. It used to be a boys' school back in the day, but I think they admit both boys and girls now. And yeah, just did a very brief session there. This is what I got. So it's a little bit noisy here today because there's the fair right behind us. But yeah, that's St Chad's. Last time we were here, we were getting like sort of things about the plague, weren't we? Like sort of plague victim stuff was coming through, and I wonder whether this park, the quarry, is on some kind of plague pit. We seem to be in a cloud of gnats here, I've just realised. No, that's going to make them mad, don't do that. You're going to make them worse. But yeah, I thought maybe I could do a quick session and just ask if there are any spirits of plague victims here and whether they want to talk. Any plague victims here? This area on top of a plague pit. The area we came from, Okay, so we seem to have all the noise going on here, so I'm not sure this is maybe the best place to do it, but I don't know, maybe there were some interesting things come through that. We'll have to wait and see, and yeah, have a look at home. Oh yeah, I should probably mention, I haven't actually mentioned this yet, but I have the K2 up here, in case you're wondering what that's for. I've had some really interesting responses through that at home. Not very much, it normally just stays on the one like that, but usually when I've been sort of asking questions or saying something meaningful, sometimes it will just spike out of nowhere, and I'm still trying to figure out whether that is paranormal or not. So if there's any spirits here, feel free to spike the K2. Feel free to say hi. I know they don't like to talk through this on camera. I get very little through this when I try and talk on camera. I'm now trying to look at the viewfinder here so I can see if this does spike. It may have done. I probably haven't even noticed it because I'm looking at the camera instead. But yeah, I want to start using the K2 more because I went through a phase of thinking, I'm not sure that these things really work. And then I had some really interesting stuff with mine. So I don't know, I'm on the fence now. I want to believe. I want to believe they are cool. So yeah, I see some people with like really cool decorated ones, like they're all sparkly and stuff, so I need to kind of do up my K2, make it look a bit more interesting. I might try a short SBox session. I'll keep it very short because I get so little coming through when I'm on camera for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't try anything last time, but I just love using this. I'm going to try it and I'm going to see if using this kind of does anything with this. So let's have a little session.
SBox. Scanning FM.
Maybe Frank's here. It'd be cool if he could come through this. That's what I was expecting. Is anyone here? Is Frank here? Can you make this flash? just say hello? Can you just say hello or make that flash? Just say hi. There's something small then. There's turtles in it? Nothing's happening with it. Okay. Last time? Yeah, so it doesn't do anything when I'm on camera. And again, this to me is more evidence that this is the real thing, that this actually works, because if it was just radio noise or whatever people say it is, then why is it responding to my circumstances every single time I get nothing through this when I'm on camera? Like, that's responsive and according to my circumstances. Like, it shouldn't do that if it was just random. Again, why would people say I'm dead and things like that through the radio? Why would you get swear words through the radio? Like, I think this thing is the real deal, I really do, and I think people should know about it. You know, it would be revolutionary if we could, you know, get answers to things by asking spirits themselves what's happened and what they've seen. And I think that could really change the world, you know. So yeah, if you do ever get the chance to go visit Shrewsbury, do have a look for these various places from the film. It's a really good film. I do recommend watching it. And yeah, there's lots of interesting places to go and see in Shrewsbury, including the Scrooge grave. And yeah, just bear in mind it is a real person's grave and there are real people underneath it. So I just kind of wanted to give them a voice because it's sort of famous for being a fictitious character's grave, but there's real people under it, and it's kind of interesting to think what they might think about it. So I think they said something about I was surprised or something when I asked what they thought about it. So I think they're being very diplomatic there. I'm not sure I'd be happy about having my gravestone moved to 5 miles away, but I don't know, maybe they have a different perspective after death, who knows. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think down below, and yeah, love and light to you all. Stay curious. Bye.